Good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Burr. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management at Notre Dame, Maryland University, and it is a pleasure to welcome you this morning. And we're going to jump right into the agenda and try to give you a lot of information and then give you some time to go enjoy this beautiful spring day. So Dr. Yam has come by this morning and wanted to greet you and speak with you for a few minutes. And Dr. Yam is the 14th president of Notre Dame, Maryland University, and she began her service in 2014. Dr. Yam?
Thank you, Scott. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for taking the opportunity to learn about NDMU and our School of Education. I'd like just a few minutes to share some of what I believe distinguishes Notre Dame from other colleges and universities. So let me begin with this. NDMU is the only comprehensive university in Maryland to have a women's college. We prepare women leaders. It's one of our key strengths and our heritage. In 1899, NDMU was the first American Catholic women's college in the country to award the four-year degree. So students who come here, regardless of their major, become part of that significant history. I'm pleased to share that NDMU is in the top third, number 59, in the regional category North of US News rankings. We're number 11 in that category for top performer in social mobility. And in a recent national study, NDMU ranked number 2 in the state of Maryland among all the private institutions and number 2 nationally among women's colleges for 10-year return on investment. The Notre Dame legacy involves two important elements: academic excellence and personal attention. We care about you personally, about your academic success, and about your futures. We're committed to outstanding teaching and student mentoring. All of our classes are always taught by faculty and not teaching assistants. We have over 25 majors in all, but our School of Education is recognized as number 1 among all private colleges in the state and in the top 3 in the state as one of the largest providers of new teacher certifications in Maryland. We have a very strong history in the state and in the region wide in the field of education. We also offer a 5-year program in education in which you can earn both your bachelor's and your master's degree. And very briefly, some of the other distinguishing programs that we have are our Imprint Program, where students will focus on personal leadership, mentoring, global awareness. We house the Women's Leadership Institute of Baltimore on campus, which offers many programs, including speed mentoring. Our first year impression seminar, in which students acquire career-ready skills in interviewing, resume prep, and much more. Our Trailblazers Program, and this is for students who are the first in their families to attend college. There are special opportunities and support for those students. An outstanding Morsi Honors Program in the newer Morsi House, which offers many enrichment programs. Recently, NDMU was granted non-government status by the United Nations. So regardless of one's major, this means that our students have the opportunity to attend briefings and programs and preference for internships at the UN. We travel up there 2 to 3 times per year. We are the only college in Maryland to offer the Bonner Leaders Program, in which students commit to service hours and may be eligible for additional grant aid. In addition to our strong academic programs, we offer rich student life experience with dozens of clubs, organizations, acting, and theater experiences. We have a black box theater on campus, a planetarium as well. We host NCAA Division III athletics with 9 collegiate sports teams with our newer editions of cross country and track. Our volleyball team won the conference championships in 2018 and 2019, and also our lacrosse team recently won the conference championship in spring 2019. So go Gators. But perhaps most important of all, NDMU will work with you as an individual. Each of you here comes with your unique gifts and talents. And with our 11-to-1 student-faculty ratio, we help you find your passions and your strengths, and will nurture your excitement for career preparation and lifelong learning. So once again, thank you for considering taking your collegiate journey at NDMU. And once again, go Gators. I look forward to seeing you in the fall. Good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Yan. Very quickly, and again, I want to kind of have our staff step back and have the School of Education and our currently enrolled students talk with you a lot today about some of the benefits of coming to join us. I know we're at that time of year where it all gets very serious. It's time to decide where you're going to be next fall. And some of you may have already decided, and that's with us, and some of you may be still trying to figure it out. And that's good. And you should be thinking about that. My role is always to give you things to think about tonight or tomorrow or next week, or as you finally decide, you've got it narrowed down to a few schools, where are you going to end up in the fall? And I would say this to you and give you this to think about. Dr. Yan referenced our Imprint program, and it's a great example of how I think the distinction of our experience and what we can provide for you is not just to get you into college, get you certified to teach, and get you your first teaching job. What we want to do is give you the framework and the foundation for that framework to live an enriched life. And if you look at the Imprint program, for example, where all students will have an opportunity to develop personal leadership skills, to have a network of mentors and advocates, to gain a global understanding, especially in terms of diversity and inclusion, and also to build teamwork skills and communication skills. Those are the skills that are going to carry to you. Maybe you want to become a principal, maybe you want to become a superintendent, maybe you want to move into administration. We're going to make sure that you have the skills that are going to make you not just a great teacher, but potentially a great administrator. If you end up moving into the area of other areas of administration, we want to be sure that that skill set you have carries forward. And it's not just about your job; it's also about how you give back to the community you're in, how you make the world a little bit better than you found it. And those are the skills that are going to go along with an exceptionally good and nationally recognized education program. So consider that today and think about that. And as you go on your choice set of where you're going to be, of course, we want to see you with us in the fall. And so we feel that this program in our women's college and the opportunities for you are just simply exceptional. And think about those things today. And I'm going to turn it over to Morsi at this point. And we're just so happy you're with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. All right, and good morning again, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So I'm just going to quickly go over some next step information. If you've applied to Notre Dame and you haven't received a decision yet, just reach out to us Monday morning so that we can look into your application and see what we're missing so that we can get you a decision as soon as possible. If you've been accepted, congratulations. You want to make sure that Notre Dame is added to your FAFSA. And once you receive your full financial aid package in the mail, just look it over with your family. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact us. Right after my slide, we're going to get into some financial aid information as well. And then after the whole program, we're going to put a link in the chat so you can sign up for a financial aid call with the director. And then if you've deposited, you're just that much closer to joining us in the fall. We're going to be sending out information very soon about new student registration days that are coming up in June. So just keep an eye out for that. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Hanlon, who is our Director of Financial Aid.
Thanks, Morsi, and thank you for having me today. Welcome, everyone. And after the past year, I think it's good to look into the future. And I think we're all starting to feel a little bit more relaxed about that possibility. So we're all excited for all of you and excited for the next academic year. So at this point, if you are accepted and you've completed your FAFSA, you should have an award letter at home. And with that, and if you do not, by the way, make sure you leave a note in chat and I will call you next week. With your award letter, and I think the most important thing for today is there was a next steps document included with your award letter that takes you through the most important final steps of the financial aid process. And I wanted to hit on that just a little bit so it serves as a good reference point for all of you as you're moving into the final steps of the financial aid process. It hits about 5 key areas. First of all, it will tell you how to understand your award letter. And you can always call us about all of these things too, of course. It will tell you how to understand your award letter, the components of your award letter, what a grant is, what a loan is, what work study is. That's all included in that document. It advises you to secure your seat in the incoming class at the university. I think some of you have already taken that step, which is great. For those of you who have not and are looking towards the May 1st national deposit deadline to make that decision, that's great. Communication from the financial aid office will change after your deposit, and after May 1st, you'll be starting to get much more specific information about how to take care of your financial aid application and how to take care of cost. Most importantly, if you use the step-by-step guide, we have included all of the key federal links to the financial aid process, links to the federal loan process, links to the federal loan counseling process. Those links and studentaid.gov, the same site where you completed your FAFSA, will become very important as time moves on. Yeah, for moms and dads who are in the audience, we've tried on the second page of the Next Steps document to give you some ideas of how to meet your obligation for school and how most of our parents meet their obligations. Most of the time we see use of the federal parent loan in combination with the monthly payment plan, or either one of those programs acting on their own. So either using loan or the monthly payment plan. You can combine those, you can use them any way you choose. There's a couple of examples on the second page of the step-by-step guide that can guide you along the way. And finally, especially in the last year, I think all of us have learned how fragile our health can be and how fragile the places and people that we love can be. And so we want to make sure and put a little bit of guidance in the document about how to get in touch with us if you happen to experience a financial hardship after you enroll at the university. And we'll talk you through the federal appeals process, how to communicate with the office. But there's a little bit of information in there on how to handle that process too, in case you are saddled with any hardships associated with, in general, but especially if you're saddled with hardships associated with COVID-19. That's really all I have for today. There's not a lot going on in the financial aid world right now. So that's about it. If you do not have the Next Steps document, please be sure to get in touch with us. We're going to post it on the website as well, so you'll have real-time access to it too. Thanks, Morsi.
Thanks, Chris. And again, just a friendly reminder, we're going to be putting a link in the chat at the end of this so that you can sign up for a one-on-one phone call with Chris next week. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the main event. So I'm going to pass it to Dean Kathy Doherty, who can introduce the School of Education.
Thank you, Morsi. I'm delighted to be here this morning to have an opportunity to meet all of you and to share with you information about Notre Dame School of Education. The School of Education at Notre Dame is a very special place. We believe that teaching is both a vocation and a career. So congratulations for being here and considering our School of Education. We place equal emphasis on professional training to ensure you have the skills you need in the classroom and later on if you move into administration, while cultivating a sense of social responsibility, which is a cornerstone of a Notre Dame education. A Notre Dame a degree from NDMU tells the world that you're committed to teaching and inspiring future leaders. And we're delighted to see you here today as future leaders in the field. Our programs have training for all stages of a teaching career. For 125 years, we've provided innovative, relevant education to tomorrow's teachers. The School of Education emphasizes knowledge and learning with undergraduate and graduate degrees accelerated programs, and more programs than any other Maryland institution in teacher shortage fields such as STEM and special education. We hope that you will begin at Notre Dame with your bachelor's degree and continue to look to Notre Dame for additional education as you move on to your master's and certifications. Our programs are very special in that we've earned national recognition for high educational standards. School systems across Maryland and the region turn to Notre Dame graduates to fill key positions in their teaching and administrative fields. We have outstanding faculty who are practitioners and scholars, and our NDMU education graduates consistently top Teacher of the Year lists. We pride ourselves on individualized attention and advising that we offer to you as our students, a student-mentor relationship with our faculty, and the opportunities to practice what you learn in the classroom in your own classroom and in clinical settings. We welcome you today, and we hope to welcome you in the fall when you join us at NDMU. Become one of NDMU's education graduates, and you will be joining teachers across the state in every school system and across the region. And you will be joining administrators, principals, and a number of superintendents as well, who are proud Notre Dame School of Education alums. So welcome, and I'd like to turn the program over now to Mrs. Kathy Seitz, who is our advisor for our Undergraduate School of Education students. Kathy?
Good morning. It's great to have you here, and I'm hoping that we can meet face to face in the fall when we're all back to a more normal situation. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about how the program in education works and some of the choices that you'll be making regarding your future as an educator. First of all, I'd like to say that education is, I think, by far the best profession in the world. And I've spent many decades in it, so I feel like I can say that. So welcome to a wonderful world where children are tapped into their potential goodness, where hope is always the beacon in front of us, and where you can really make an impact every single day on the lives of folks and really help people. And so I think the first and most important ingredient for a great teacher is something that you probably already have, and that's the passion for it. You need to love kids and to love the idea of working with them. And if you have that, we can combine that passion with the skills and the attitudes that you need to really be a great teacher. And that's our goal. Not just that you end up with the credentials of a teacher, but that you become a great teacher, because that's what every child deserves. So your first big decision, other than, of course, what college you'll come to, and if you're really wise and wonderful as you are, you'll come to us. But your first big decision is what grade level you're interested in teaching, because the programs are different at those different grade levels. So your first idea is, do I want to work with young children and elementary age kids, or do I want to work with middle school and high school kids? And the thing you need to think about at that point, and you don't need to decide that this minute, but the thing that you need to think about is where your passion really lies. So students that are drawn to secondary education tend to have two loves. They love kids and they love a certain content area. So if you're going to be a high school English teacher, you need to like teenagers, and you also need to like English literature. If you're going to be a high school or middle school math teacher, you need to love that age group of child, but also mathematics. And so you need to think about that. If you're a more generalist type of person, if you remember back to your own elementary school days, you probably had one main teacher who was tremendously significant in your life. And that person taught you most of your main subjects. That person probably taught you English and math and social studies and science. And maybe you had a special area teacher for PE or art or music. But that one main teacher really became the center of your life for that year. And I'm sure that those teachers that you loved, you remember their names, and you might even remember where you sat in their classroom and all of those things. So the elementary and early childhood teachers are really focused on that, that one group of children each year. And so when you begin to think about what you want to do, that's a big decision that you have to make. And even though there are some classes that you take that overlap those two programs, they tend to diverge at a certain point. So that's a decision that you don't need to make immediately, but fairly early on. One of the things that our students often do, regardless of what program they are in, is to have what's called dual certification. And that means that you're credentialed in the state to teach two different areas or even multiple areas. So if your main track, for example, is elementary education, you might add on to that early childhood, which gives you a broader group of children that you're certified to work with. Or you might add on to elementary education, special education, where you work with children that have special needs. And you might add on a program in ESOL, which is teaching children who English is their second language. And so there are specific courses that prepare you and give you the skills to do that. And again, that's one of the things that we will talk about as we meet frequently, at least once a semester, for a lengthy amount of time to talk about your program and what's coming next and how you feel about things. And you know, what you decide in the beginning sometimes changes and shifts a little bit along the way. And that's really what the college experience helps you do. It helps you learn about yourself and learn about new things in your field, and helps you modify your program so that by the time you graduate, you're a person who's really competent and confident and really feels great about what you're going to be doing in the future. Another great opportunity that we have is what's called the BAMAT, which is a 5-year master's program. So what happens in that program is that we track your courses so that you end up with everything you need for both a bachelor's and a master's degree and certification in the area that you choose. And so that's a decision that you would have to make somewhere around your sophomore year, so that we would make sure you would get the correct classes in the correct sequence. But for some students, that is a great opportunity to move forward. So again, there are a lot of things to think about. You certainly don't have to make those decisions at this moment, but as time moves on and as you become more familiar with what an educator really is and does, we talk about those decisions, and you know, obviously talk about them with your family and make the best decision for you at the time as you grow and mature in your field. We have a wonderful opportunity for you today, and that is that we've invited 4 of our really excellent students in the School of Education to be with us and to form kind of a panel. They're in different programs, which they will tell you about. They're involved in all kinds of other activities on campus, as well as their classwork, and they'll tell you about that as well. And then we'll give you an opportunity for some question and answers back and forth. And hopefully by the time you finish, you'll not only come to understand, looking at them as models and as examples, what a wonderful place Notre Dame really is, but you'll also feel comfortable with the new information that you have. So I'd like to ask the panelists to make sure you unmute yourself so we can hear you. And maybe Taylor, if you would start, maybe introduce yourself, talk about your program, and then we'll just go from one to the other. And Anna's going to help us monitor the chat so we can make sure we know what your questions are. And if you want to, you know, turn your cameras on so we can see you, that's great as well, or unmute yourself. So whatever you're most comfortable with is great with us. Taylor.
Hi, everyone. So as Ms. Seitz so eloquently said, my name is Taylor, and I am an elementary education major, and I've added on a certification in early childhood. So I've decided to add on that extra certification to make my ability to teach a little more versatile. So if I choose to teach the younger kids, I can, or if I want to kind of do the main range of elementary, I can do that as well. I also have a minor in communication arts. So that's one of the things that I really love about the education program, is that you can add on a minor if you want to, and it's super doable. On campus, I am involved in quite a lot of things, and I love being active on campus. As President Yam said at the very beginning, we just recently added a cross-country and track and field team, so I am a member of both of those teams. I also am a member of our Gator Teach Club on campus, which is a club for teachers and aspiring educators that I highly recommend. It is amazing, and there's so many resources for teachers there. I'm also the editor-in-chief of Columns, so keep an eye out for amazing news coming out on Columns. I'm super excited about that. That will be coming out shortly, so check out our link. And then lastly, I am a YES program tutor. So we have an awesome opportunity on campus to tutor students at 2 local elementary schools. So it's really an opportunity to get to know and apply what you're learning in the classroom, even at just a level of a freshman or a sophomore in college. So that's a little bit about me.
Great, thank you, Taylor. Katie, how about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I'm getting my certification in elementary education and TESOL. TESOL is my main focus. That's teaching English to speakers of other languages. So that's exciting. On campus, I also am a part of Gators Teach. I am on SGA as well. I am the Chief Justice, and I work with the Literary Magazine, and I really like the program here.
Great, thanks, Katie. Ebony, let's hear from you.
Hi guys, my name is Ebony. I am in my 3rd year of school, but this is my 1st year at Notre Dame. I am actually a transfer student, so I haven't really been on campus yet, but I am super excited for, hopefully next semester I'll be able to go. But they've done an awesome job of having virtual things set up for us to do. My major is early childhood education. I focus on the little ones, which is where my passion is. Where my passion is completely. But I love this school. I hope you guys choose it. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable.
Thanks, Ebony. And then Emma.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma and I'm also majoring in elementary and early childhood like Taylor. I'm a part of the volleyball team and Gators Teach. I really love Notre Dame and that's why I wanted to come speak today. And what's really cool is I actually have been in classes with Taylor, Ebony, and Katie, and I've learned so much from them because teaching is such a collaborative major, and I just love that I can know everybody.
That's great. Thank you, girls. I'm really, first of all, they volunteered to be here. We didn't use any form of coercion, so we're really grateful for their generous spirit. And as you can hear, they're very involved and busy. So if you have any questions, please ask them, and they will be happy actually to fill in the information for you. Go ahead.
I actually would like to start out with a question after hearing the 4 of you. It's so nice to hear from each of you. Thank you again for your time. But I wonder if you could talk briefly about one experience that you've had here that has really reinforced not only your choice of Notre Dame, but your choice of education as a career.
Sure, I can start with that. So as I kind of briefly said in my introduction, I am a part of the YES tutoring program. And that is a program that NDMU has offered to really everyone on campus, but specifically for me as an education major, that has been super impactful to me because it has really allowed me to take what I've learned in the classroom, even in my first couple of years, and implement it in real time with a student who needs reinforcement in the classroom and with their education. And so for a brief story, I was working with a student last year, and she was in the 2nd grade, and she was really struggling with shapes and kind of understanding the variation of shapes. And if we turn a shape, it's the same. And I had this eraser, crazy, and she loved it. And I took the eraser, and it was a rectangle, and I flipped it. And for some reason, that was like the light bulb moment for her. And I realized, and I'm now taking geometry class, how we can apply those little lessons that we're learning in the classroom and how we can take that with us and practically apply it for students. And so for me, not only realizing that I can apply what I'm learning when I'm in the classroom to the students that I'm working with, but seeing the light bulb moment for me, that's what makes me want to do this. And that's what brings out that passion in me to want to teach. And then to take the education that I'm getting at Notre Dame and see it playing out really in my everyday life.
That's great. You had an aha moment experience even before you got into your own classroom. That's great. Anyone else want to respond to Dean Dougherty's question? Ebony?
I just have to agree with Taylor because I work in a daycare center, and being able to just put in work that you've learned in the classroom or learn to do in a classroom is awesome. Like just watching the kids, we was learning about, you know, February was Black History Month, and being able to like take strategies that I've learned in the classroom, apply it. Like I'm just sitting here, I was actually reading one of my textbooks. It was called the Reading Strategies book, and just being able to like use the activities out of that and give to the kids. They had so much fun with it, and it was just awesome.
Great, thank you. Katie, you had something you'd like to share too.
Yeah, so one experience that really like solidified that I was in the right place, I was in one of my first education classes and I was just so overwhelmed. I was so nervous. I like felt like I didn't know anything. So I emailed the professor. I was like, I don't know if I should be in this. I don't know if I'm in the right place. And she was like, no, stay, you can do it. You can do it. And so I like continued in the class, and like that professor has been like my best friend ever since. And it's just been, she supported me so much, and it just really helped me.
That's great. Good. Emma?
I agree with everyone, and I wanted to touch on the professors as well. They really have solidified that I need to be here, because one of my first classes I had Professor Poling, who I totally look up to. She's like the best professor ever. I love her. And I couldn't believe that like any other professor could compare to her. And I keep having like amazing new education professors. Like I was like, no one can compare to Professor Poling, and they do. They're all very good. And I love that one of my professors now, some of our activities we have to do, we observe her teaching her own class, which is so cool. I get to see like my professor teaching kids in action, which I love.
That's great. You know, one of the things about the professors and the instructors at Notre Dame is that they are all really experienced, and they have that ingredient that we talked about earlier. They have a passion for teaching. And so no matter what age level, whether you're teaching little preschoolers like Ebony and Emma are working with, or you know, high school kids, or even students in college, that passion for really giving great information to those in front of you is really, really important. So one of the things that Ebony alluded to was that she works in a child care center, and many of our students do have experiences, and we provide experiences for them to really work with children prior to the time where they get their first job. Katie, for example, is in a clinical, what's called, and Emma as well, are in a clinical field experience where they spend time during their as one of their classes in their semester doing a lot of observations in a classroom, and Ebony is working in a job and things like that. So we give those experiences so that you're not kind of blindsided when you walk into your first classroom. And then at the end of your program, you do a semester-long internship where you really work in a school all day, every day, with an experienced, excellent teacher and a university supervisor to kind of get you over that last hurdle to becoming a teacher yourself. So Anna, any questions in the chat?
Yes, they're just posed a question of how does teaching abroad work? Have one of you done it before? And if so, is it a good experience to do so?
Okay, none of these folks have, but I've worked with students who have, so I could fill you in a little bit on that. So that internship semester that I was just speaking about is the time where you would have your abroad experience. And you would certainly let us know that early on so that we could arrange that. But we have schools that we have partnerships with that are in a variety of different countries. So we've had students go to Ghana, we've had students go to Hungary and of Germany, and participate in a school. And what happens is that one of your placements during that internship semester would be here, and it would be in one of the areas you're certifying with. And then the other placement, so it would be half a semester, would be your time abroad, and you would be working in a school. So the school in Germany, for example, is a school where the SSND community has sponsored the school. So they're the same sisters that have founded and continue to serve at Notre Dame. And so we have a great connection with them. And you are given a place to stay, a family to stay with. And then generally at that point, what you're teaching is you're teaching English to those children in that school. And that counts as part of your internship. And that's a wonderful experience. Anytime that you can travel, it just broadens your horizons and helps you understand the world better, and you become have that more global perspective. So we really encourage students to do that. Notre Dame also has a variety of trips, sometimes that are service oriented as opposed to teaching, but a variety of international experiences once the world turns back into itself during the summer and over spring break sometimes, that students can go to different places to do some work, either tutoring or teaching, or sometimes some of the nurses go to different places. So there's a lot of opportunities. And one of the things when you all get back to campus is that you'll see that there's a great communication system. You have flyers and posters all over the place encouraging you to join clubs and investigate foreign travel and all of those kinds of things. So the more you do, the more you put into your college experience, the more you're going to get out of it, whether it's education or your general studies or whatever. And I guess that's the other thing I want to kind of point out, that if you're majoring in education, you certainly are going to take a bulk of your coursework in education, but you also are going to be taking general studies. And the general studies portion of your program allows you to become kind of a broad-based Renaissance person, a person who really sees the world from a broad and global perspective. And part of what we try to encourage you to do is to become a person who is a global citizen and who works for justice and helps things along in a lot of different ways. And so that broad base of coursework helps you to do that. And obviously, if you have an opportunity to travel, that just adds to the final component.
So kind of going off of that, there's a question about asking if freshmen are able to study abroad.
I'm sorry, if what?
If freshmen are able to study abroad.
Generally, students don't go really abroad until their junior year, because I think there's some good reasons for that. One is that you're really making an adjustment to college life your freshman year, and some of the classes that you're taking will help in that transition. But when you think about it, every year for the past 4 years, you've known exactly where you were going to be the following September. And this is the first year that you've really had to grapple with, oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm going to be next September. And so your college search has now led you to narrowing that choice. And hopefully you've narrowed it to Notre Dame. But making the choice is step one. Then you have to acclimate yourself for being really, for most folks, independent for the first time, making decisions on your own, living on your own, organizing your time in a different way than you have been in the past. So getting used to college is a good thing. After that, then I think things are open. But in terms of fitting in the international program into your coursework is important too, because you want to make sure that those international classes that you take, if you do a whole semester abroad, that they count toward the completion of your degree. And so most of the time they tend to be more upper level classes. So junior year seems to be the time that most folks can fit it in, but it's not impossible to do the other things. Certainly the shorter trips that are planned for the summer and spring break are very possible for any grade level.
So there's also another question. I'm not sure if any of the students on the panel are a part of the Morsi Honors Program, but the question is kind of geared towards that. She's asking if there are any major connections between the Morsi Honors Program and the education major, and does it provide more educational opportunities if I were to become a part of this honors program?
Anybody? I don't know. I think some of them could have. Hey, Katie, you are? Okay, go ahead.
So what Kathy was talking about earlier, like some of the courses you have to take like 4 English classes and stuff like that. So Morsi usually always offers like English literature classes that you can take that count for Morsi. and elementary education. You can make them count. So there is like overlap, and they're helpful, and you learn so much. You get like different perspectives.
Can you speak on maybe your favorite class that you took with the Morsi Honors Program? Because I know that there's some cool ones.
So last semester I took philosophy of human flourishing, and I did not know what to expect with that. I was like, people just are happy, like, I don't know, but I learned a lot. And Morsi classes are very discussion based. So we went into every class like having a different topic to talk about, and it was really great to get different people's perspectives on the topic. So we were talking about like wearing masks and like people's experiences working in retail and customers not wearing masks, and like people's family members who would or wouldn't wear masks. So it was really interesting just like get all these different ideas, and then you can take them into your classroom as well.
There was another question in the chat about, are there any endorsements for the education degree?
I'm not sure if the questioner is using endorsements in the way we use them in education, but what happens in education when you reach the point of certification is that you can endorse to get a different area through a testing program that's run through the state. And that certainly is available, although the students in the women's college would be taking what's called initial certification classes. And for initial certification, the state is going to be looking for your classwork as well as any other requirements they have. And so what the requirements that they have are dual right now. One is a series of tests called the praxis tests. And I would help you figure out which ones you would need to take to get the certification. And another is a process called EdTPA, which is it's a kind of way to evaluate if you're ready to teach based on what you're really doing during your internship semester. And we certainly help you through that. There's a class that's a support class for that. But those are the two things, along with your coursework, that goes with initial certification. Teachers are lifelong learners. So once you get your initial certification and you're out in the world and you're teaching, you're still going to be taking classes. And most of you, all teachers, end up either getting what's called an equivalency or a master's degree. And so when you're at that stage of the game, you can get something that's called an endorsement, and it lets you teach a broader area of content. So I'm not sure if that's what exactly the person was asking, but that's how we use the word endorsement.
There's another question about, are there requirements to enter into the 5-year program, or can you just jump right in your junior year? So if you can maybe talk a little bit about the 5-year program, or if any of the students are a part of that 5-year program that want to speak on it as well.
Taylor is part of the 5-year program.
Yeah, so I actually am really grateful to be a part of the 5-year program, because when I graduate my 5th year, I will have my undergrad and my graduate, and I can kind of coast right into teaching. So fingers crossed that goes smoothly. And it's something that I'm very excited about, and something that definitely drew me to NDMU was being able to have that opportunity to get my master in the 5th year. So when I applied to NDMU, and then I met with Ms. Seitz, and I told her that I wanted to be an education major, one of the things that we did is I filled out a form that said that I wanted to also enter into the BAMAT. So that would be the Master's in Education for the 5th year. And so what that does is, when you're going through the program in your 4th and then the 5th year, is you kind of have to strategically pick classes so that by the time you graduate, you have all of the requirements that are necessary. So my course load is very well rounded. I know you've heard that from some of the other students saying that, you take like the English and the science classes and all of that. So it's just making sure that you have enough classes to fulfill each of those like boxes, so that as you go through and you get to your senior year, you've completed all of those, you have those. And then your senior year, you can take 2 of your master's courses, 1 each semester. So I just registered or went through my classes with Ms. Seitz for my senior year. And so we picked my first class that I'll be taking for my master's degree for my senior year, so that I'm not taking everything in the 5th year, so that way I can graduate in 5 years instead of taking an extra 2.
So, and to add on to what Taylor said, some of the students come in knowing they want to be in the 5-year program from the very beginning. And some students, as a freshman, you know, they're in the 4-year program and they think about it, or they hear about it, or we discuss it, and then they change to the 5-year program. Once you're past your sophomore year, though, it's difficult to move into that program, only because the sequence of classes is different for the 2 programs. But we work with you individually, so we try to make your goals happen. So I wouldn't say it's impossible, but the earlier you decide that, the more smoothly what Taylor's talking about, that sequence of classes, happens.
There's another question from a transfer student that we have in here. She's asking about having more information about the accelerated master's program as a transfer student. What would you highly recommend to get a master's degree in as an elementary educator?
Well, as she transfers over to Notre Dame, what she would have to do is to indicate that that's what she wants her major to be. And what we would do is we would meet very, very soon upon arrival, and kind of look at what credits have transferred over already and what still need to happen. And then we would plot that out, so that the advantage, as Taylor said, the advantage of one of the advantages of BAMAT is that you can take those 2 graduate classes early. So what we try to make sure happens is that you plot out your classes in a way that you meet the 120 credit requirement for the bachelor's degree and have space to put those 2 classes in. So it's like a puzzle that kind of comes together, and, you know, great minds working on it, the student, and mine is not quite so great, but we work on it together to make sure that that happens. But I would say that that would be a great possibility. So if that person would just let me know early on, we could plot that out, and they would be secure in knowing, yep, that's going to work.
Awesome. So switching gears, I'm going to ask a question. So do any of you students currently live on campus? Or if none of you currently live on campus, could some of you talk about what it was like being a resident student prior to COVID, what it's like being a commuter student, if any of you are commuter students, those sorts of things, if you can touch on.
Emma?
I lived on campus my freshman year and I really liked it. So you get a dorm room with, I ended up with someone on the volleyball team, which was awesome. And then you have a dorm room. There's laundry is free. There's a laundry room. It's all very convenient and it's definitely enough space. The closet is actually more space than I have in my own house. But, it's very nice, and you get 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I loved getting up early to go get breakfast and then going to class. It's just really nice. And then also I like Gator Alley, which is a little snack and coffee place right underneath where we eat in the dining hall. And it was like on test days, I would treat myself to a muffin. So it's like really, I liked it. It's very quiet in the mornings and there's always someone you know in the dining hall to eat with. I don't know how it is now, but it was really fun. And then I actually commuted sophomore year from an apartment. And I'd say if you're going to commute, earlier classes are better. It doesn't have to be too early, but for the parking and stuff, earlier classes are better. And then I like both ways. Either way works for me.
Anybody else want to? Taylor?
Yeah, so I, much like Emma, I was a resident my freshman year, and then I moved off campus to commute my sophomore year, and now I'm a junior, so I'm commuting now as well. I loved living on campus. I thought it was so much fun. The amount of times that I was up late studying with friends in my dorm room, or had, you know, the dining hall has something called late night breakfast, which is a huge NDMU tradition right before exams. So when you are famished and you're studying, you can go over and grab midnight breakfast at the dining hall, which is so much fun. So there's like little traditions like that in my opinion, you get at a small school that really make the difference and kind of make you feel more at home. That again really drew me to NDMU. I'm a commuter now. And I made that decision just because it made sense for me personally. But like I said, I did love living on campus. I live about an hour away. So my commute every day to school is 2 hours. And when I first started commuting, I was really, really nervous because I didn't know how I was going to fit it all in, especially being super involved on campus. But what I've noticed is that my commute actually helps me stay focused once I get home or once I get to school, because it's just that enough time to kind of decompress from your day or get started, have your coffee, drive into campus, and really be ready for what's in store for that day. So I have found that even though I thought it was going to be a lot, it's definitely manageable. So I would say for the students that are looking at Notre Dame, just make the decision that's right for you. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong. Living on campus was super fun, but I've also found I've been successful commuting in. So just, you know, look at the decision that's right for you and make that decision. You're going to have support either way. There's an amazing, amazing resident hall association who would help you if you live on campus with any kind of questions. We have incredible RAs. I know mine freshman year was amazing, and we actually became really good friends. So that's great. But there's also a really awesome organization on campus called Commuters United. So if you have any questions about like commuting or parking situations or anything like that, they are there to help you as well. So there's definitely resources either way for students and just to be there for you and provide you with what you need.
Ebony?
I haven't had a chance to be on campus at all, you know, with everything that had happened this past year. But I remember I wanted to live on campus. But I remember looking at the dorms, there was like, I remember there being your own, like there was kitchens in there. And then you even had a choice of if you know, if you might not be one of those people that might be able to live with someone, there was an option to have your own, like a dorm to yourself with your own bathroom and everything. And then I know that there are some people who was living on campus and they, you know, if they need a support animal, then they're able to get that information and be able to find one or find out how they could do it. So I thought that was cool too. I remember I had a class with someone who had a little bunny. It was so cute. But I know that I was planning on, or I am still planning to try and have that dorm room experience, you know, being a transfer student. I never even had the chance to even have a someone to live with outside of home. So I do look forward to hopefully having that experience.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, COVID has interfered with some of our initial plans, so we're all making the best of that, just as everyone else is. Were there any other questions?
So there was a question that was asking, do we choose what hall we want to live in? So as an incoming student, you are placed into rooms, so you don't get to choose the exact room that you are in. But then after that, you're able to choose what room you're in. I don't know if any of the students want to touch on kind of housing and how to choose your room after your freshman year, after your first year. But as a first year student, you are placed. And then after that, if you continue to live on campus, then you're able to choose your own room.
I don't know. I don't know. I saw a question about with COVID, and I don't know really the answer to that. I don't know, Anna, if you do.
So all of the students are in single rooms right now. So if you happen to be in a single room with a bathroom, then you would have your own bathroom. However, we do still have single rooms in halls that have the communal bathrooms. So with that, we have our ABM services, our custodial services go in there. I'm not sure, Marcy, if you know the exact answer how many times a day, but I know that they're in there all the time, cleaning it to make sure that everything is safe.
Multiple times a day. They go through at least 2 or 3 times a day. As Anna said, there's some rooms that have their own restrooms. There's some rooms that share one in between 2 rooms. And then there's the community bathrooms and showers. So the plan right now is still for all students to be in individual rooms, but eventually that will go back to being students are placed with a roommate. And eventually, once you become, you know, a sophomore or junior, you're able to request to live with specific students. We also have triple rooms. So if three people really enjoy, living together, or sports teams tend to do that, there are those rooms as well.
How are we doing with questions, Anna? Are we good?
I think we've answered most of them in the chat. Oh, can I go to the gym? Is the fitness center open?
I think it's not open right now, but by the time folks are on campus, I guess it will be.
So currently it is actually open, but you schedule a session time of about 45 minutes for you to utilize the gym to keep traffic low and everything. You have to sanitize all of the equipment that you use and make sure that you're following all safety protocols, still wear a mask and everything like that. But currently, yes, students can schedule that. In the fall, I do not know what that will look like, but I think they will be transitioning back to having limited capacity. If masks are required or not, we'll kind of figure that out as things progress. But yes, it is currently open, and that it does plan on staying open as well.
Yeah, there's typically a member of the athletics staff in there to help make sure that all COVID protocols are kept to and that everything gets sanitized correctly. If there's athletics that are utilizing the space for workouts, those are scheduled as well. So like you wouldn't be in there at the same time as an athletics team that's doing strength and conditioning in there, just because of the scheduling. So obviously all the scheduling will kind of be separated, so that way there aren't too many people in the gym at once. But it is open, just limited capacity.
Emma, I saw your hand up. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about post-COVID times, but pre-COVID times, the gym is really nice. You can go, I don't know the exact hours, but I would go like really early or later at the night. And it was just really nice. It's like the perfect size, and it's all the equipment you would have in like a huge gym if you would go to it. It's just smaller. And then it was just nice. It was usually quiet. There were never like more than 4 or 5 people. And it was super nice to have like a free gym to access, like instead of working out in your little dorm.
Right. I wonder, I know we're getting close to the end of our time, and if anybody does have a question, we'd certainly be happy to answer it. But I wonder if each of the panelists could give us maybe one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's an incoming freshman. Who wants to start? Okay, Taylor.
Okay, so I don't know about you all, but when I was applying to college, and especially by this point in the process, I was very nervous. I certainly didn't want to choose the wrong institution for me. I didn't want to choose the wrong major, because at the time I was pretty sure I wanted to do education, but I wasn't 1000% sure. So there was a lot going on and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of nervousness. So I'm not sure if you all are feeling that, but I certainly did. So, speaking off of that, my biggest advice for you would be to follow your heart and pick the institution that you feel is the best fit for you, and then take advantage of everything that they have to offer. So what that means is, being at such a small school, I can go to my professors and I can say, I don't understand this. Can you help me? Being on campus, there's professors who will stop me that I had freshman year and say, Taylor, how are you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? I hope you're well. Things like that. Things like that. So that, take advantage of everything that your school has to offer to you. And then again, like being at a small institution, there are things like being on sports teams or being really involved on campus, or being in a small classroom setting. I think I saw a question pop up there about classroom settings. My biggest class that I've been in was about 30 students. So for me, being able to be in a small classroom setting where I could raise my hand and ask a question, and I wasn't in a lecture hall and I wasn't intimidated, I have learned so much more that way, because that fits my learning style. So my biggest piece of advice would be to follow your heart and pick the place that's right for you. And if you end up you know, wherever you end up, you know, whatever school it is, hopefully it's Notre Dame. I mean, I'm a little biased because I love it here, but hopefully it's Notre Dame, and then take advantage of everything. Even other students, you know, other students are constantly cheering you on. Being at an all women's institution, you are empowered constantly. Everyone wants to see you succeed. Always. You always have someone cheering you on. You always have someone in your corner. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about this process, and know that, you know, the students here, the faculty here, and everyone else on campus is here for you, and definitely take advantage of that.
Ebony?
I would say take your time and just to figure out what you would like to do. I remember one of the things that stuck with me going through life. I was in high school and I was talking to one of the guidance counselors, and before she became a guidance counselor, she had a really nice job. She was making so much money, but she was not happy whatsoever with her job. So she quit and she became a guidance counselor. And yes, she doesn't make as much as she did before, but she's happier. You know, last time I told her, she was happier. And that's all you can really do is like, don't do things that are based on material, but do things that are going to make you happy in life, because at the end of the day, you can't just give that up.
Okay, thanks. Emma?
I totally agree with Ebony. It's not a job if you love what you do. And my favorite part of my day is my observation. Like, I love work. I've always loved work, but I don't want to go to work because I want to stay at my observation because this is what I want to do. And my piece of advice would be find a buddy, whether they're older than you or your same age. Just find a buddy that is in your classes and you can, in the education field, and you can talk to them. You can share notes and stuff. And if you find someone older than you, they can tell you like some of their experiences. And it's really nice to have like somebody or multiple people to go to when you need help.
Katie?
Oh my gosh, everybody said exactly what I was gonna say, but so I agree with everyone. I guess like don't be afraid to ask for help. If you go here or anywhere else, like if you have an issue, tell somebody, let them know, and there will always be people to like help you and guide you. So that's what my advice is.
That's great. And that's one I think of the real strengths at Notre Dame, because it is a fairly small community. People really support each other, as all of the panelists have said, support each other, want the best for each other, and also have the same goals and dreams to really impact the world in a positive way. So there's a lot of support for everyone, and in a smaller institution, people know you for who you are and who you would like to become, and support that journey. So we certainly hope that you end up at Notre Dame. I would love to work with each and every one of you. And hopefully you will be transformed from a great young person to a great educator, and combine all the skills and talents that you have into a wonderful profession.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Just fun fact, I am an alum of the Women's College, and I did secondary education as my minor, and I truly loved it. I had a great time doing it. So I just want to thank everybody that's been here today, the faculty, staff, but especially our current students. Thank you for taking time out. You guys are so wonderful, great questions, great answers, and we truly appreciate everybody being here. Anna just put the link for the financial aid appointments in the chat. And this session was recorded, so we can send it back out to you later in case there was anything that you wanted to revisit or something you didn't quite catch. But please reach out to us if you have any questions and concerns. But I'm happy to say enjoy your Saturday. It looks like it's beautiful outside. So really appreciate having you all here, and we'll hopefully see you soon. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.